Broadcasting live from the Capital OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
We'd like to thank Gulfstream Park for their sponsorship of this program and some of the other programming and events here at Capital OTB. Gulfstream Park's championship meet features great racing now through Florida Derby weekend at the end of March. Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America on this Saturday morning. I am Seth Merrow. As always, thanks for joining us. Happy to have you on board this morning as we'll take a look at some of the nice Derby prep action coming up Turfway with the Jeff Ruby Stakes stake and down at the Fairgrounds on their closing weekend with the Louisiana Derby. A couple of guests today that we've taped over the past couple of days. A little bit later on, Jeremy Plonk will join us. Countdown to the Crown, horseplayer.com. You can catch his work on Substack, where he does some handicapping during the month, during the week, during the days. And then on Fridays, Countdown to the Crown comes out every week. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. But I had Jeremy on our Derby Deep Dive show yesterday. We taped him on Thursday, had him on yesterday, talking just a general picture of the three-year-olds, where we are now and the results going back last week, Virginia Derby, a couple weeks ago, Tampa Bay and San Felipe. And as I say, some general conversation and some recent results and how they played into where the three-year-olds are currently on the Derby trail. We also talked a little bit about last week's future bet wager and some of the horses that were a little bit interesting coming out of that odds-wise. So Jeremy will be on board for that further discussion today, because yesterday we had the overall three-year-old picture, but when we talked to Jeremy on Thursday, we went a little further and previewed Jeff Ruby Stakes stake and the Louisiana Derby with Jeremy. So yesterday, and by the way, if you're not familiar, if you haven't tuned in yet, Derby Deep Dive is our weekly look at the steps along the trail to the Derby and the Triple Crown. And again, we kind of say where the three-year-olds are currently and just talk that three-year-old scene. If you haven't caught it yet, Fridays at 10 a.m., or you can catch the replay on our Capital OTB YouTube channel. But as I say, then we parsed out later in the conversation a closer look at the Jeff Ruby Stakes stake and the Louisiana Derby with Jeremy. He had some interesting recent history trends on those races. So that was a fun discussion. So I parsed that out. We'll do that today. And then a little bit later on, we'll go over 5 of the stakes down at Fairgrounds that will be part of an all-stakes pick 5 that they're estimating will get to $1 million for the pool. We'll do that with Joe Kristufek. Of course, you see him doing the pregame down at Fairgrounds, and Churchill as well as the pre-race commentary. So we got some of Joe's thoughts. Joe had bounced around the backstretch and had talked to some of the trainers, seen some of the big performers on the card today. And as I say, this is the penultimate card down at the Fairgrounds. So we also talked about where the trainer and jockey standings are as they're about to wrap up their meet down there in New Orleans tomorrow. So should be a fun edition of Racing Across America, looking at a lot of key action, because not only Jeff Ruby Stakes at Turfway, Louisiana Derby at Fairgrounds, but a really nice card, both tracks of undercard stakes. So all of that action here at OTB, of course. There's other nice stakes today as well. Down at Oaklawn, the Essex, the return of Skippy Longstocking after having won the Pegasus earlier this year. Again, he'll be in the Essex at Oaklawn. A couple of nice stakes over at Laurel. One of them, 3-year-old base, the private terms. And I always say these Laurel stakes kind of early in the year, 3-year-old stakes, end of the year, early in the year. Not sure how many Derby players might come out, but there will be some, you would think, Preakness potential coming out of these 3-year-old races like today's private terms down Laurel. So again, nice stakes action across the country. But we'll talk first with Jeremy Plonk, again, looking at both the Jeff Ruby and the Louisiana Derby. And then a little bit after that, Joe Kristufek. So we'll take a break. And when we come back, Jeremy Plonk.
The championship season is on at Gulfstream Park with great horse racing action Thursday through Sunday. Come out and enjoy the world's best horses, trainers, and jockeys as they compete over the Hallandale Beach Oval all season long. Take your experience up a notch and join us in 10 Palms Restaurant with unbeatable track views, outstanding dining, and convenient wagering options. For reservations, event schedules, tickets, and more, head to GulfstreamPark.com.
If you don't have a Capital OTB account yet, now is the time to log on and take advantage of the sign-up bonus. More details at capitalotb.com. Become a Capital OTB account member now and enjoy free past performances, wagering from any device, live streaming, racing info, contests, promotion and events, and more. So sign up now and take advantage of the new account bonus. Details at capitalotb.com.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
Jeremy, good morning.
Good morning. It's always good to talk Derby, and it's starting to get that time, right? This is final round preps, and it gets serious from here out.
Let's move on to preview because we have a nice weekend coming up, Fairgrounds and Turfway, not just the 3-year-old races, but both venues have great undercards of stakes as well. But over at the Fairgrounds on Saturday, the Louisiana Derby, Grade 2 event, as you mentioned, the mile and 3/16, unique and I think important because it really gives a feel for how they will move to that mile and a quarter, $1 million up for grabs in the Grade 2. I went back and forth, but I eventually landed on Chip Honcho coming out of the second behind Paladin and the Risen Star. And again, Paladin is on so many folks' lists up at the top.
Chip Honcho and Paladin. Red through the inside, Carson Street, who straightens away in third from Quality Mischief. Courting on the far outside, Golden Tempo pulled to the stand side for his bid. He went 3/4 in 1 minute 11.53 seconds, and it is still Chip Honcho. Chip Honcho determined. Paladin charging hard on the outside. Carson Street is third. Golden Tempo's fourth, with Universe in fifth. Paladin tries to track down Chip Honcho. Here's Paladin with power and purpose to win the Resistar.
Emerging market for Chad Brown obviously will take a lot of action. He wasn't really flattered by Power Shift, though, coming out of that debut victory at Tampa. Power Shift eventually, at Tampa, not so potent, but could be good on his own right. So I have him right underneath. And then Golden Tempo for Cherie DeVoe is interesting to me. Easterly for Brad Cox, if you're looking for a little bit of value, perhaps. But what are your thoughts on the Louisiana Derby?
I'll be surprised. The first 3 names you mentioned, if it doesn't run through them, Chip Honcho, Golden Tempo, coming out of the same race, obviously, in the Risen Star, experienced on the trail there. All 4 races in the Louisiana Derby Series for Chip Honcho, 3 of the 4 for Golden Tempo. Emerging market, the new face, right? And to me, it kind of goes down to those 3 horses. As for emerging market, take him first. This is a horse for Chad Brown, who the debut was a throwdown at Tampa Bay Downs, like you mentioned. That race was exceptionally fast, and it was a tough on both horses to be sure in there. Power Shift came back and ran terribly in the Tampa Bay Derby out of that race, but that was 2 weeks ago. The benefit of having 2 more weeks rest after a throwdown race like that, I wouldn't assume because Power Shift ran poorly next time that we're going to see the same thing from emerging market. But it's certainly not flattering to him that Power Shift ran as poorly as he did in the Tampa Bay Derby. But again, the 2 extra weeks rest, I think, really do help in this particular case, because a lot of times you'll see that with a horse who runs just a smashing race, a really difficult race, it rips something out of them and they need more recovery time. The calendar works a little bit better for emerging market in this particular race. I watched his one video that we saw. It was decent looking at First.tv, the workout video. I saw one of his works at Payson Park on March 13th to try to get a feel for how emerging market came out of that race. He worked in company. Chad's horses in company usually finish even up on the wire. You don't get a lot of look at it. But I thought the work mate being an 0-for-2 maiden was kind of interesting to me, that Chad wasn't working him with a better horse, So I don't think he's like slammed knuckled down for this. And so at a mile and 3/16 from the outside post position, I don't know if he came out of the last race ripping the barn down, And so I'll try to beat emerging market in here. And then it comes back to the two horses who've run against each other in the series. Chip Honcho obviously has the pace advantage. He's speed in a race where there's not a lot of pace. Emerging Market didn't show speed in that career debut. I don't know. Does Easterly try to push the tempo a little bit? Maybe the one Pavlovian for Doug O'Neill coming from Southern California, who was second in the Sun or won the Sunland Derby while battling up near the front. Maybe he tries to show some speed, but Chip Honcho should get a really good trip in here, and he should be difficult, I think. He's had 4 workouts since that last race, 3 for the other horses coming out of the Risen Star. That means he came back out of the race better, got on the workout tab quicker within 9 days, I believe it was. He was right back on the workout tab. That's a good sign. And so I think he may have come out of the race better than some of the others. Chip Honcho's probably the horse to beat in here. Golden Tempo's one I really like a lot. He's got that Phipps pedigree on the dam side. He's by Curlin. He's only going to get better the farther they go. Won at 6 furlongs in the debut. He had no business winning that day. He should have been like a clunk along 4th in there, but he rallied and beat all of them and kind of did it nicely and handily. Now they add blinkers for the go time race. They've got to get a big performance out of him here, I think, after a little disappointment in the Risen Star. Not to be too critical of Cherie DeVoe. She does a great job, and she certainly knows her horses better than I do. But I've studied the Triple Crown Trail a lot over the years. A horse like this, Golden Tempo, to me, would have benefited from running the comp, skip the middle leg, come back in the main event. Think of Tapan Street last year, skipping the Fountain of Youth and then beat Sovereignty on the nose in the Florida Derby. That run in the first, skip, run in the third is a really effective for a lightly raced horse like this, historically from what I've seen. I think Golden Tempo would have benefited by skipping the Risen Star. I think he was flat that day, bounced a bit in that one. Now they come back with the blinkers on, so they really look like they're knuckling down and they're honed in. And when you talk about who are you working with, Golden Tempo is working in company with Reagan's Honor, who's one of the top 3, 4, 5 prospects in the game. So I like that. So I think either one of these two are very difficult to separate. Golden Tempo under Ortiz, who's the leading rider at the meet. Chip Honcho under Saez, who's going to be aggressive with him early. There's a lot to like about both of them. They're tough to separate, but to me, I think it's one of those two.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Golden Tempo in that debut, I think it was the same day. Cherie DeVoe had a couple win from out of the clouds that debut day, and then came back and did essentially the same thing in the comp. So it seems maybe a little pace dependent. And again, the pace in here is going to be questionable. It's going to be interesting to see around the first turn and into the backstretch how fast they're going. You'd have to think Chip Honcho is going to be right there, certainly. And if he's out there easily, maybe tough to reel in. If there's a little challenge, it's one of those fun races where you have some speed, you have a closer. It's going to be fun to see how it plays out. No question.
And one thing about Golden Tempo, if we have a minute, something I noticed from watching his race replays, and then she put the blinkers on and we got to see the horse work in blinkers last time. They not only were last in those previous races, they were well behind the next to last horse. That almost tells me when you're riding like that the horse doesn't like kickback. And so they were trying to stay away from the pack so much. Now with blinkers on, the horse might take dirt in the face, not even feel it. Golden Tempo might be more into this race than what you think. And in a race where we look at it and say, there's not a ton of speed in here, I don't think he's going to be completely out the back end like he's been in all 3 starts at this point. I think he's going to not resent so much running into the kickback in the dirt. And I think you might see him launch from mid-pack in here. And again, the farther they go, now we go to a mile and 3/16. The farther they go, the slower the pace is, right? Yeah. That's just kind of a rule of thumb. So it's actually going to get a little slower up front than what we saw in the Lecomte, what we saw in the Risen Star. This race should actually slow down a little bit, which would naturally pull him up into the race a little bit more too, and not fall so far out the back end. Don't be surprised if there's a tactical change here with Golden Tempo. Whether it's good for him or bad, we're going to find out, right? I mean, changing tactics 4 races into the career isn't, totally strange, but it'll be different for this horse to be up into the mix, and we'll see if he responds.
Yeah, interesting, the strategy of putting the blinkers on. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, no question about it. All right, and finally over at Turfway, the Jeff Ruby Stakes stake, the grade 3, mile and an 8, $777,000, the purse in there, and a nice full field, and it's on synthetic. And I made some notes, since it's on the synthetic, people may say Derby prep, but it's been productive. Last year, Final Gambit ran 4th coming out of Turfway. 2023, 2 Phils ran 2nd coming out of Turfway. We only have to go back to 2022, and Rich Strike came out of the Jeff Ruby to win the Kentucky Derby. So it's been productive, fun race. I tilted towards full effort for Brad Cox, kind of master of the obvious here. From what I read, Irad will return to the races on Saturday after having
Yeah.
getting banged up a little bit last week, taken off Thursday and Friday, but it plans to ride at Turfway on Saturday. 2 Out Hero is interesting for me, for Kevin Attard, clearly better than we saw last time with Trouble. Black Hornet for Brendan Walsh. Brendan Walsh, who's had a fabulous past few months, comes in off a couple of turf races at the fairgrounds, including a turf stakes race.
Black Hornet against the rail and McGreedy down the center of the course. 3/4 for Touch of Fire. 1 minute 14.21 seconds. Touch of Fire joined on the outside now by Black Hornet, who's coming with a long run for Declan Cannon. Engages Touch of Fire. McGreedy's back in third. Sunrise is in fourth. It's Black Hornet who's edging away from Touch of Fire. Black Hornet in the black gold.
And I know in years past, you've liked the horses coming up from Gulfstream out of turf races. So similar scenario there. But what do you see in the Jeff Ruby?
Well, we're always looking, right? We're always trying to track these trends and see. And once upon a time, the Gulfstream turf horses were really good in this particular spot, and they're certainly still very effective. I mean, horses have won coming up from Gulfstream in the last dozen years, 4 of them. As many horses coming up from Gulfstream have won this race as horses who prep locally at Turfway. But I'm going to give you another one here because I just stumbled on this in the last couple of days, and it'll be in Countdown to the Crown. It's going to make a big difference in how I handicap this race. There's a particular track that produced a runner-up or winner in this race in 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2025, all but 2024. 4 of the last 5 years, a horse from a particular circuit has run first or second in the Jeff Ruby, and it is Fairgrounds. And you talked about the horse from Fairgrounds, Black Hornet, coming off the turf for Brendan Walsh. And the outside horse in this race stopped the car, also for Brendan Walsh, coming out of the comp stakes and with a break in between. Running the first leg of a series, skip the second. Now it's time to go at this time of year. I kind of like the pattern for Stop the Car in here. I like the pattern for Black Hornet. And of those 4 horses that have run first or second in this race coming up out of Fairgrounds the last several years, 3 of them were moving from dirt. And so there've been some successful dirt horses at Fairgrounds that have handled it here. Now you look at some of the pedigrees and you try to figure out, will these horses like it on the main track at Turfway? Stop the Cars by Maximum Security. He gets 12% winners on the main track at Turfway, the only track at Turfway on that Tapeta surface. He's a decent but not great sire on the synthetic. Not quite sure if he's going to handle it. Essential Quality of the sire for Black Hornet gets 10%. So again, these aren't terrible sire stats for win percentages over the track, but they're not great. So I don't know if they're going to move forward. So therefore, I'm going to demand a big price on both of them. I think they're both 10, 12, 15 to 1 type horses. And if they get bet down, I'm not that interested in gambling on them. If they're let go at prices, though, I'm very interested in them. Stop the Car's got good company lines, obviously, facing Golden Tempo. That was a good race back in the Lecomte Stakes. Black Hornet, I don't know what he's run against so much. We're going to find out. The Black Gold Stakes on turf at Fairgrounds, the names in there, Touch of Fire, McCready, not as familiar along the Triple Crown Trail as some of the others. But I'm not wild about the race, the John Battaglia Memorial. That was the local prep for this. The winner's not there. The winner is going to a Great White, is going to the Bluegrass Stakes next for trainer John Ennis. So you're not getting the best of the locals in there. Full Effort closed well in that race, got a 103 brisk late pace figure. But I thought the race kind of fell apart a little bit. I think Full Effort's solid. But he's going to get overbet. It's Irad and Brad Cox. Yeah. So I think you're going to take a shorter price than you need to on Full Effort. So I'm going to get a little bit creative in this race. It's a race where a lot of times you get a bomb and a lot of times you get a short price. It's kind of feast or famine in the Jeff Ruby. So hopefully we're feasting and going for a bigger price this weekend.
I like it because, again, I think at Turfway, just in general, you can play around and have some fun. And I thought Black Hornet was interesting. I took a serious look at Stop the Car, but I was a little bit scared with only dirt on the resume. But he's been up at Turfway working. But maybe I'll jump in if there's the prices right now that you said dirt horses have done okay, Fairgrounds in general. I was a little concerned about the outside post position as well.
Well, I looked up the stats on the BetMEX database in here, and I've got, post 12 in this race since 2015, when we've had a 12-horse field in this race. 9 times since 2015, this race has gone with 12. The outside horse has 2 wins, 2 seconds, 2/3 from 9 starts. That ain't bad at average odds of 17 to 1. They weren't chalks running out of that outside post. So it's not that bad of a post to be in. And post 10 through 12 do as well in these 9 furlong races at Turfway as the inside 4 posts do. So the outside's not that bad on the synthetic, apparently, and they can give up a little bit of ground loss in here. Hopefully that's the case. But again, 12, 15 to 1. You got to start in that kind of range. If you're getting a shorter price in this race, then you're probably better off just going with Stark Contrast, his class out of California on the turf for Michael McCarthy, or the horse that you know is going to handle the track in full effort, and you know you're going to get a good ride. Irad and Brad Cox will have the horse ready from a very advantageous two-hole, at least in terms of saving ground. So if the horses you like, the prices are drifting down a little bit low, you probably just stick with the more logicals.
Off the 7th place finish, Stop the Car. I think he'll get it. Well, it's Brendan Walsh, though, who again has been.
I think he's going to be a price. I think we're going to get the price on there. I think Black Hornet has a little bit more chance of getting bet harder of the two because he's coming off the win, but he was 7 to 1 at Fairgrounds. Only has a maiden win prior to that. And he's never really been bet too much in the couple starts this meet at Fairgrounds. So we'll see. I mean, we're fishing a little bit here at Turfway. I got to admit, I don't have a super strong opinion, but I do like the fact that these Fairgrounds horses have been popping in this race in recent years. And so, look, we talk about too. You want stamina at a mile and an eighth. You want stamina on the synthetic. And that Fairground series and those races are all longer than a lot of the other tracks. So maybe these horses are developing a little bit better at Fairgrounds for the distance and for the stamina test. And maybe that explains why they've had some success at Turfway in this race. Or maybe it's just a group of coincidences over the last 5 years. But we'll gamble and find out on Saturday.
Yeah, I like the stats. And I had used Black Hornet, but I'm going to take a serious look and pull and Stop the Car in my mix as well, because I do like the historical stats there, recent history as well. Jeremy, appreciate the visit as always. Again, we'll tell people to check out Countdown to the Crown every Friday afternoon, previews, reviews, and now that we're getting into the heart of the schedule, all important information. So thanks again. We'll talk in the future.
Good luck, everybody.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
You like free money? Well, Capital OTB gives its players plenty of opportunities to cash in. At Capital OTB, there are so many ways for horse players to receive bonus dollars by simply participating in promotions such as our bankrolls, bounty bets, online handicapping contests, and much, much more. Plus, with Capital OTB's Player Rewards Program, you get actual cash back. So what are you waiting for? Log on today at CapitalOTB.com or CapitalOTBBet.com and claim your free money.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Oops, my bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Wrapping up the Fairground season with a big day on the weekend. Closing day is Sunday, but Saturday, Louisiana Derby, great undercard of stakes. So who better to talk to than Joe Kristufek? You see him doing the paddock commentary, pregame, preview as well. Joe, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Seth. Yeah, it's a marathon for the last 2 days. 14 races on Saturday, right back with 13 more on that closing day Sunday, but super excited. Once you get to Saturday and all the prep work is done, can't wait to get the show on the road. And, you want to be ready for the beginning of this card because top to bottom with the allowance races, the maiden special weight races, all the stakes, there's going to be a lot of opportunities from the very first race all the way to the end.
Totally agree. Before we get into the races, again, we're wrapping up the meet. And, you're one of the, as far as the winter tracks, you end a little bit early. And I think people think, it's kind of a short meet, but it goes back to Thanksgiving. And it's been a fun meet right along. There have been these big weekends leading up to Saturday. And I pulled up some stats just to go back and kind of review the meet. Meet leaders clear on the jockey and trainer side. Jose Ortiz, no surprise, but he has a nice lead going into the weekend. 86 over Marcelina Pedrosa with 62. Ben Curtis, Paco Lopez, Isaac Castillo, rounding out your top 5. Sophia Vivas made a little noise for herself down there as well. We had a chance to talk to her a couple of times recently on her trips up to Woodbine. Your thoughts on the jockey side of things at the meet?
No, I mean, Marcelino had a career best Fairgrounds meet behind Jose Ortiz, and Jose speaks for himself. Obviously, Paco Lopez got hurt. Otherwise, maybe he gets the silver medal behind Jose. But a lot of riders that had very good meets, and you mentioned Sophia. You know this, Seth. It's tough to break into a brand new colony, make a name for yourself, especially, and I hate to say it as a female rider, but to break the top 10, and she's been really hot here at Fairground since the beginning of February. I told her the other day, she's capable of riding at Churchill Downs. And I don't take that lightly. You know, she's very skilled and kind of brings back memories of Rosie Napravnik a little bit from her dominance here at the Fairground. Sophia's got a long way to go, but it would be really interesting to me to see what she does next. Maybe Delaware Park, maybe she'll reroute, but she's got a very bright career in front of her. If you see her name on the program, past performances, don't be afraid to go to the window because she offers a better price than she should on many occasions.
Totally agree. On the trainer side of things, again, pretty good lead going into the last weekend for Joe Sharp. 45 over Brett Calhoun with 28. Shane Wilson, who kind of hit my radar a couple of seasons ago with the nice meet down there. He's at 22. Brad Cox, 21. And Sam Davis, I have to admit, sitting in the 5th spot, unfamiliar to me, but I looked him up. I've been training for a long time, over 1,400 wins. So he was a new name to me, but certainly doing well. Rounding out your top 10, Asmussen, DeVoe, Cherie DeVoe, Brendan Walsh, and Tommy Amos. How about the news from Tommy Amos?
Yeah, Kendall LaRoe's going to take over the barn, but Tom's not going to be far away. I mean, he's going to be doing TV on Fox, obviously, probably doing some Naira stuff. He's still going to be a bloodstock agent. He's just not going to have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning every day to roll out to the barn. He's going to be able to enjoy other aspects of his life. Kennan's only 28, but I've gotten to know him very well over the last few years. Very responsible young man, has been with Tom for several years now, and he's obviously getting a tremendous opportunity.
And again, Joe Sharp, he's been hot at the meet right from the beginning.
Yeah, and you know, he won the title last year, his first at Fairgrounds after knocking on the door on several different occasions. And you know, he broke through last year. And this year he's got a combination of young horses getting through their conditions, but also a lot of claim for 5, enter back for 5, win those races. That's why he's been able to be so dominant. And Cherie DeVoe's had gotten everything out of this meet, said that she possibly could have wanted. A definite Kentucky Derby contender, maybe an Oaks contender, and maybe the best 3-year-old in training, an Englishman who, you know, brought back memories of Flightline with the way he won at Fairgrounds on Thursday.
Englishman is a 5-length leader as these 3-year-olds turn for home here at the Fairgrounds. Englishman on the edge of the quarter pole, 6 lengths in front of Stormforged, with Silver Talisman charging on the outside. Route Procedure, Donegal Light saving money. The half mile was 44.17 seconds. Son of Maxfield on cruise control with Jose Ortiz. It's Englishman, who's 10 lengths in front, coming past the 16th. He's the talk of the town. Englishman has come roaring back at the track, just cruises in. Englishman in hand by 8.
All right, let's jump into it, and we'll kind of work our way back from the highlight of the day on Saturday. Race number 12, the Louisiana Derby Grade 2 event. $1 million up for grabs, and I love the unique mile and 3/16 distance, which kind of gives a feel for how they make approach and get that 1.25 miles in a few weeks. I wound up on Chip Honcho. Ran second in the Risen Star, but a close second to Paladin, who's at the top of a lot of lists. Emerging Market is going to be interesting. Wasn't really flattered by the follow-up by Power Shift coming out of that big debut throwdown they had at Tampa, but he's had a couple more weeks out of that, so he's interesting. And Golden Tempo, one of those nice runners down at Fairgrounds you mentioned for Cherie DeVoe, who that debut victory, I think she had 2 come from out of the clouds on the same day. Golden Tempo is one of them. Winds up doing the same thing in the LeCompte and winds up 3rd in the Risen Star. I thought Blacksmith might be a little bit interesting as well from Bob Baffert. But what did you see in the Derby?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've nailed all the major points. Maybe Pavlovian for Doug O'Neill from the rail. Doug won this race. His team did a few years ago with Hot Rod Charlie. Uh, so let's start with, the horse that you gave the edge to, Chip Honcho. I know it's a mile and 3/16 sets, but there's hardly any speed in this race. This track has been very fast. It's been forward to a large extent. Can only benefit Chip Honcho. Went back to the barn to see Chip Honcho this morning. Also got a look at emerging market for Chad Brown. Got a chance to talk to Chad extensively the other day. And, the door is open to maybe running the Derby if this horse proves that he belongs versus skipping the Derby and going to the Preakness like he has with early voting in the past. And another winner that his name is escaping me that skipped the Derby that won the Preakness. I saw him at the barn. I could tell why. He only costs 180,000. He's not big and imposing like Chip Honcho, but he is long. He is athletic. He ran very fast on debut.
Yeah.
It's a lot to throw at a horse first time back. And then Golden Tempo adding the blinkers. This horse has been working heads up in the morning with Reagan's Honor, her bluegrass horse. He's 2 for 2 at Fairgrounds. Cherie, Jose Ortiz, both think he's a much better horse, more focused horse with the blinkers. So it's an exciting race for sure.
Yeah, and you mentioned Reagan's Honor, another one that, and we were talking on our Derby show yesterday. At 38, I believe, to 1 on the future pool, Reagan's Honor, really interesting for Cherie.
Yeah, I think so. And I also think that Emerging Market, who I think was over 30 to 1, is interesting too. And a lot of people probably thinking, well, Chad's not going to run in the Derby, even if this horse wins the Louisiana Derby. But he told me otherwise. They're very high on this horse. And I don't think he would be here if they weren't.
So which way are you tilting in here?
It's the 3 I gave you. I haven't made a public pick yet. I'm probably going to lean towards Emerging Market, although we both know, Seth, that you're not going to get 6 to 1. Yeah. He could be the favorite. I think those 3 will vie for favoritism because of how fast Emerging Market ran on debut. I'm going to give him a slight edge. Golden Tempo, Chip Honcho. I like all 3 of them pretty equally, honestly.
Yeah, I'm right there. I eventually tilted towards Chip Honcho again. Close up second to Paladin, and he will further flatter Paladin if he does get the victory in there. But a fun edition of the Louisiana Derby. 1 race earlier, the girls face off in the Fairground Oaks. 3-year-old fillies, $400,000 up for grabs. 8.5 furlongs is the trip. I'm master of the obvious here. I'm going to go with Bella Ballerina. 3 for 3 for Brendan Walsh, who's just had a great last few months, obviously. And this one comes in off the win in the Rachel Alexandra to kick off the 3-year-old season. Love and Trust for Cherie DeVoe comes in off a nice maiden breaker. Maybe you get a little bit of value there. Again, the numbers have to move forward, I think, to compete with Bella Ballerina, but in only her 3rd start, I think that's possible for Love and Trust. Life of Joy, Brad Cox runner, Newtown Pike, also intriguing to me. Who did you see in the Oaks?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Bella Ballerina, she looked like she was going to lose to Love Your Neighbor in the Rachel Alexandra, but kind of switched leads inside the 8th pole and was able to get the job done.
And these 2 fillies have come away. Bella Ballerina and Love Your Neighbor, who's gained a slight advantage with 1 furlong to go. It is Love Your Neighbor. Bella Ballerina tries to kick with her. Still a slight lead for Love Your Neighbor. Bella Ballerina just being held at the inside past the 16th. It's Love Your Neighbor. Bella Ballerina, she's all heart. She's battling back for Tyler Gaffleone. She's got it. Bella Ballerina and the Rachel Alexandra.
And Brendan Walsh probably only had her 85% crank for that race, and she should take a major step forward here, but she's going to be chalk, Seth. I needed to do a little bit of price shopping in this field. You mentioned Love and Trust. Watch the replay of her win. She was super, super green. She got lost on the lead. She's still learning. She's still figuring it out. Will she put it all together on Saturday? That remains to be seen, but a lot of promise moving forward. And you mentioned Newtown Pike. This is the horse you're going to get a price on. She ran a better than a look second in the Martha Washington, beaten only in neck, where she was wide every step of the way and sustained that bid to the wire. She's got an inside draw here. I think she's going to be every bit of the 8 to 1 morning line. And it's super sleepers, Miss Meteor, the horse coming in from Delta. She won by 13 lengths last out, but she did it in an absolute canter and ran fast. It's going to be 20-1. That's the morning line, anyways. And she's one that I think you can get into the try.
Yeah, I like that. She will be a price, certainly. And again, if you take a stand against Bella Ballerina, you will get a little bit of value anywhere because she's going to take all kinds of action, certainly. All right, that's the 3-year-old girls. And again, a really nice stakes card. Again, I've mentioned throughout the season at Fairgrounds, when you have these big Saturdays, you cover many of the divisions. And on the turf side of things, the Muñez Memorial. Oh, I'll ask you, we're taping a day before, but what's your weather look like on Saturday?
Oh man, pristine. I mean, we might have record high temperatures. It might be 85 degrees here on Louisiana Derby Day, and sunny, fast, firm. Rails are down as we transition to the first turf race we're going to talk about, Seth. And we saw it on Thursday where inside and speed, at least inside, did a lot better than it's been doing with the rails way out. We talk about this almost every time we talk Fairgrounds on your show. When those rails are down. So keep that in mind. Could help forward horses, could help horses that make those inside rallies, pocket trips. But when the rails way out, a lot of times you see horses on the far outside and the best portion of the turf winning. Now the best portion of the turf is the inside 2 or 3 paths.
In the Muñez, again, I'm kind of master of the obvious with Laganos here coming out of the win in the Fairgrounds back in the middle of February. Program trading comes in for Chad off a 5th place finish in the Pegasus Turf. But boy, there are races that are good enough under there. And he's actually on the morning line, the favorite. Laganos is a close-up second choice. Chasing the Crown, if you're looking for an alternative, the Mike Maker runner for me, also coming out of the Pegasus, has some races that are good enough. Montador, I think, for Mike Stidham, could be interesting as well, off a second behind Laganos in the Fairgrounds. Intriguing field in here. What did you see in the Muñez?
No, I mean, you cover the bases of the horses that I think you need to gravitate to. I talked to Chad on the phone a couple days ago about program trading as well. And he basically said no excuse in the Pegasus World Cup turf. He thought he should have run better. You know, the horse is now 6 years old, needs to prove that he can sustain that class that he has shown in the past. Maybe he's a little bit vulnerable in here, although nobody would be surprised at all to see him win. I think the semi-sleeper is Montador, who was second behind Laganos last out, newly turned 4-year-old, didn't have the cleanest of trips that day, has an inside draw set with a little bit of tactical speed, which could work to his advantage. And I agree with you on Chasing the Crown. Those last couple of races are going to darken his form. Yeah. If he brings his A+ game from the rail draw, Mike Maker, we know how dangerous he is, could be a factor. 12-1 might be asking a little bit much. 6 or 8-1 probably more realistic.
And I'll live with that. That's a decent price.
Me too.
It's a fun bunch in there as well. We'll move one race earlier on the card also in the older division, 4-year-olds and up, facing off in the New Orleans Classic at 9 furlongs. I'm going to go back to Life and Times. The first 2 races of the career were very good looking, and I think Knightsbridge is special. And so that he dueled with that one and faded a little bit and only the 3rd career start, I'll give him a pass there. Flavian Pratt's scheduled to come in for the ride or be on board for this one. He'll be in town for other rides as well. But Life and Times, I'm tilting there. Touch Upon a Star obviously comes in very good form. Not This Boy, Corporate Power, but I'm going with the Pletcher runner in the 4th career start. Your thoughts on the New Orleans?
Yeah, I do know that Accelerate is going to scratch. He's not on the grounds. I also know that even without Accelerate, you've got Touch Upon a Star who wants to go forward. You've got Life and Times coming out of the 1-turn mile race at Gulfstream, the races at Aqueduct. He wants to go forward. Not This Boy wants to go forward. Some's got to give here, Seth. It'll be very interesting tactically. See what these riders do. I'm a huge fan of Touch Upon a Star, man. He beat Sierra Leone in this race last year. Jake Delhomme hasn't stepped out in open company very often with this horse. One of the greatest Louisiana breds of all time, who might be better than ever at age 7. Marcelino Pedrosa Jr. is taking over for Timmy Thornton, who's injured. Talk to Marcelino. I'm like, dude, there's a lot of speed in this race. He's just going to play the break. If somebody else goes and he can sit outside of him, if nobody else goes, he's going to take it to him. So very interesting race despite the short field, mostly from a tactical perspective.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, the touch upon a star kind of story, being a Louisiana bred. I think he floats under the radar a little bit, but 20 wins and 27 starts. If he wins on Saturday, he goes over $2 million in earnings. So you're right, on the Louisiana bred side of things, a very, very nice runner indeed. All right. And finally, let's take a look at the 8th race, which is for Louisiana breds. The cost of rising 5.5 on the turf. But you and I were talking before we went on the air. This kicks off an all stakes pick 5, which could be a lot of fun. I didn't know where to go in here. You have a lot of horses that have pretty good dirt form, but not so much proven on the turf necessarily. But a lot of times on the sprint side of things, they can go back and forth. So I wound up on 9 Part, who spent most of the early part of the career on the dirt, but tried the turf last time successfully. Hey Jude is interesting to me. Monsieur Candy, your thoughts on the cost of rising?
No, and you nailed it. And that's the case with this race every year because the good Louisiana bred sprinters have to run somewhere. And if there's not a dirt race for them, they will go to the turf. And sometimes, like you said, they can surprise you. But it's been a dream meet for Bobby Phelps and owner Keith Plaisance. Bobby Phelps, 8 for 11. He doesn't have a lot of horses, but they're all very good. Keith Plaisance has had a tremendous meet as an owner. He's got most of his horses with Bobby Phelps, but he's got a couple of other horses with other trainers. He's been winning with those too. And unlike most of these, Seth, and you nailed it, horse did win on the turf last out. And he's 5 for 6 lifetime with 1 second, and he's got the rail draw. So he has a lot going in his favor.
And he has Jose Ortiz.
And he's got Jose Ortiz, who did ride him perfectly last time, and the horse won easier than it looked. So bright future for 9 Part. As a 5-year-old, he's lightly raced. And this race does kick off that $1 million estimated all stakes late pick 5. We also got the Bayou Bluegrass pick 5, the joint wager, which I love, Seth, with Turfway. It's $1 pick 5, starts with the New Orleans Classic, includes the Fairgrounds Oaks and Louisiana Derby, then includes the Philly 3-year-old race at Turfway, as well as the Jeff Ruby Stakes. So I put a ticket together, Seth, that cost me $180, and I signaled emerging markets. So that $1 minimum really makes you think about how many horses you're going to use.
I hadn't even picked up on that. I'm looking at my form now. That's nice, going back and forth between Fairgrounds and Turfway on a couple of big afternoons. I like that. And again, this 8th kicks off that $1 million estimated pick 5. Again, a great stakes card at your place over at Turfway. But to wrap up again the season, on Sunday, you have the big Saturday leading into the closing day. So it's a fun last weekend at the Fairgrounds. And again, big day of stakes action. Joe, always appreciate the conversation. Before we let you go, what's your schedule entail over the next few weeks leading into the wrap up down at the Fairgrounds and then heading back up to Churchill?
Well, Brilliant Racing only has 1 horse left, Seth. I think I mentioned that to you, Spider Woman. She's entered to run an allowance race at Turfway on Thursday. Ran the best race of her career last out and got put up via disqualification when she was going to win the race before getting interfered with. We'll have some information on a new partnership hopefully soon. I get to hang out. I mean, I'm going to work here, get ready for Derby stuff. Got some meetings at Fairgrounds when the meet is over. I'm going to take a little short trip to Miramar Beach and Destin for a couple nights just to kind of decompress. Head back to Churchill Downs Easter weekend, which should be a great weekend to drive. And then the Kentucky Derby morning work show will start only a couple of short weeks after that. So from the frying pan into the fire, which is my life every winter going into spring.
Envious though. It's always fun to watch you guys down there at the Fairgrounds. You know, you have, Mardi Gras and the whole scene down there that looks like a lot of fun, but the racing is always very good as well. And again, you guys do great. I compliment you all the time. You and the Churchill crew, your pregame show is always fun to listen to. You guys have added a bunch of elements that other people have subsequently picked up on, but you guys do a great job. And again, Brilliant Racing, I was going to touch on that and you hit on it. I will remind people, brillianthorseracing.com. You can find out some more information. You got some new partnerships that are going to come up, sometime in the future, correct?
Yeah, for sure. It's just been a little bit of a tough stretch as far as regrouping with that. Kind of wanted a couple of partnerships to end before we started a new one, but We've won 26 races, Seth. I think we're 18% overall. We've had some nice horses along the way. We've had our ups and downs like every horse racing partnership and every horse racing venture, but some great memories, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, but Saratoga, stand in the clubhouse watching that big screen a lot of times with the partnership groups as they come in from the paddock and watch the race. And, it's horse racing, so there's mixed emotions, but you get a victory and they run out to the winner's circle. The smiles couldn't be bigger. And so partnerships are definitely a lot of fun, great way to get into the game. And also just the social aspect of it is a lot of fun as you make new friends and whatnot. Joe, again, appreciate the visit this morning, and wish you a lot of good luck this weekend, closing weekend at the Fairgrounds. Safe travels, and we'll talk to you at Churchill.
All right, always a pleasure, Seth. Until we meet again via Zoom or on a phone call, and hopefully holding out hope Saratoga again this summer.
Yeah, we're looking forward to a visit up there. Have you sit in with us on the backstretch if you're up there. Joe Kristufek from the Fairgrounds.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
The championship season is on at Gulfstream Park. Great horse racing action Thursday through Sunday. Come out and enjoy the world's best horses, trainers, and jockeys as they compete over the Hallandale Beach Oval all season long. Take your experience up a notch and join us in 10 Palms Restaurant with unbeatable track views, outstanding dining, and convenient wagering options. For reservations, event schedules, tickets, and more, head to GulfstreamPark.com.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. Again, thanks to Joe Kristufek and Jeremy Plonk for jumping in and talking a little stakes action this afternoon on a big stakes day. Again, to give you a little lineup of when our tracks are going to kick off today. Fairgrounds will kick off our time here up in the upstate New York area at 1 o'clock. So that's noon their time, but 1 o'clock for us. 12:45 for Turfway, 1:10 for Aqueduct, 12:50 for Gulfstream. So got to kick off within an hour window of plenty of big action this afternoon here on the network and via Capital OTB. The big races themselves at Turfway, the Jeff Ruby Stakes Stake, 6:25 our time. The Louisiana Derby, 6:40, again, scheduled post time, 6:42 for the Louisiana Derby, our time. Oaklawn also with a nice stake today, the Essex, the return of Skippy Longstocking, having won the Pegasus earlier. That'll go off a little before 6 o'clock our time down at Oaklawn. So looking forward to a big day. This weekend kicks off the Louisiana Derby Jeff Ruby Stakes, kick off the 100-point races along the Derby Trail. 100-point meaning that's what the winner gets, and then underneath 50, 25, 15, and 10 for second, third, fourth, and fifth. So these are important races. We have 7 100-point races here in the United States coming up. Jeff Ruby and the Louisiana Derby next week, the Florida Derby and the Arkansas Derby. The following week, the Wood, the Bluegrass, and the Santa Anita Derby. So it's going to get serious here over the next couple of weeks on the Derby side of things. There's also a race left on the European Mid-East Trail. That'll be next week, the UAE Derby. And there's also one more race on the Japanese Trail as well. Those are kind of separate points getters. And if you want to get a comprehensive look at the leaderboard and the races that are coming up, results of the point races so far. I mentioned it yesterday on Derby Deep Dive. If you go to Equibase, the front page of Equibase, there is a 3-year-old leaderboard, which I think lists the top 10. But then down at the bottom, it says complete leaderboard. You click on that and you come up, and Churchill every week during the lead up to the Kentucky Derby sends out a nice comprehensive list of every horse that's gotten points. And if they're off the trail, there's a strike mark showing up. So again, horses like Plutarch and Ted Noffey, they're strike, but you still see where they were on the points before that happened. Lists as I say, the previous points races and results, the upcoming points races, and currently on the list, Paladin and Incredible sit on top with 60 points each. Obviously, with 100-point races coming up, that is going to juggle up a little bit. You go down to Puma, has 56 points, Silent Tactic with 50, Class President with 50. And then you get down a little further, and there are horses that maybe they're going to need a little help, but have some potential, like Chief Wallaby, who is certainly in the conversation. Chief Wallaby at this point, 25 points. Renegade also with 25 points. Talk to Me, Jimmy, and Nearly, each with 20. So again, they may need a little help. Although I mentioned this yesterday, also part of the comprehensive list that Churchill sends out, which I will note doesn't only have the Derby points leaderboard, it also includes the Oaks as well. So good information. And again, you can find that over on Equibase every week. But I noted yesterday, we look down at the bottom of the list and we say, if you got 20 points, 25 points, you're going to need some help. But the last 5 years, that this thing that Churchill sends out also includes the horses that got into the gate, going back historically, how many points they had. And just looking at the last 5 years, it was kind of interesting. Last horse to get in the gate, points-wise, because also some of these years, a Japanese runner and or a Mideast Euro runner got in on their trail, which is a little bit different. But the last horse from the United States with points, last year, 39 points got you in. 2 years ago, 20 points got you in. 2023, it was 19 points. 2022, it was 22 points. And 2021, 10 points got you into the gate. So we look at these horses down with 20, 25 points, and we think, but they could sneak in. That said, you want to get up to 50 or 60, 70, 80 points, and you assure yourself getting in. And also, if you come into Derby with only 20 points, you have to wonder what your chances are. So we'll see how it shakes out over the next few weeks, again, as the 100-point races are now kicking off today with a couple of them, and over the next few weeks, the list will juggle up. And as I say, you can come up with that nice complete list every week over at Equibase, as it is updated by the folks at Churchill Downs with a nice, as I say, comprehensive, about a 15-page package. It's always interesting to take a look every week. All right, I'm going to wrap things up for this edition of Racing Across America. But before I do, I'll let you know what's coming up here at Capital OTB. And over the next couple of days, we continue with Hoops and Horses, March Madness here at the Clubhouse Racebook. I continue to lament, Sienna. They just went ice cold at the end. They gave Duke all they could ask for, so it was a nice run there for Sienna. We'll see what happens with GMAC and Syracuse and whatnot, but it was fun to watch them play it out, and we had people here in the Clubhouse Racebook watching, rooting, and enjoying on Thursday. Also had the basketball yesterday, and we continue this weekend, today and tomorrow, more NCAA playoff action, and of course, all the racing action as well, and grab a little lunch over at Black Bear. So next couple of days, Hoops and Horses, Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. And I will alert you that tomorrow we have a couple of things coming up next Friday and Saturday. And entries will open on the website tomorrow. So next Friday, there'll be a pick 3 bankroll. I will again try to make the last we've gotten the players' money the last 3 times we've done it. Leading into it, we had a couple of really nice pick 3 bankrolls. The last 3 have been a little light. Everybody got some money. It wasn't great. And I said just a couple of weeks ago when the last time we did it, it was just a tough day. I mean, you had short fields at Aqueduct, so it wasn't really worth jumping in there. And then there was kind of chalky results at some of the other tracks I was looking at. So that was tough. But again, everybody wound up with a little bit of money. We will try to juice that up nicely this coming Friday and give everybody a nice chunk of free money. You get your shot at that by putting your name in via capitalotb.com. Again, tomorrow entries will open. Go to capitalotb.com, click on the promotions link, look for that graphic, click on that, and fill out the entry form. And early in this coming week, we will select the team. And on Saturday, next Saturday, Florida Derby Day, there will be a Syndicate special concentrating on the late pick 5 at Gulfstream next Saturday. Syndicate did great. Last time the Syndicate popped out, they made a nice chunk of money. And if you want to take your shot on being on next Saturday's Syndicate, again, entries will open tomorrow. capitalotb.com. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. Seth Merrow, Racing Across America for Saturday morning. Happy you joined us today. We'll be back, as I say, a little bit later on with things kicking off. First one up on our mixed Turfway at 12:45. So again, a little more than an hour or so. We'll jump in for the afternoon with OTB Live. I've handicapped Turfway today, Fairgrounds, and some Aqueduct as well. But we'll have more action here on the network also. So should be a fun afternoon, certainly with the great stakes cards at Turfway and Fairgrounds. Skippy Longstocking in the Essex down at Oak Lawn. Looking forward to it. Hopefully you are too. And the game plan will be toss out some good information. It helps us all make a little money. We'll see if we can do that this afternoon, one way or the other. So looking forward to it. As I say, I hope you are too. And I hope we all wind up getting lucky this afternoon. But again, appreciate your tuning in this morning for Racing Across America. We'll do this again tomorrow, recapping some of that nice stakes action on Racing Across America at 10 a.m. right here on the network Sunday morning as well. Otherwise, back in an hour and a half or so for OTB Live for Saturday afternoon. See you then. We'd like to thank Gulfstream Park for their sponsorship of this program and some of the other programming and events here at Capital OTB. Gulfstream Park's championship meet features great racing now through Florida Derby weekend at the end of March.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off-Track Betting.